Danny, this is crazy, man. You got everybody thinking that we're kissing sisters out. See, I mean, at this point, Danny, you're drunk. Like, you know how everybody says when you tie, it's like a brother and sister kissing. Like,
no,
you never heard that? Oh, you're wild, bro.
That's the battered way of looking at things, though, right? Because
we're the battered herons, Ian.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Chris, the Herons are back. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 44 of the Battered Herons podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, along with my co-host, Mr. KBD himself, Christian Durant. How you doing, sir?
Well, my internet connection is actually a little better than last time, so that's great.
Yes. Well, hopefully my Walmart lights don't go out again like last time.
I'll be prepared this time, I promise.
Yes. If I just randomly disappear, please don't just stare at the screen like a dumbass and just start speaking. All right. Well, this episode is gonna be I don't know if I'm gonna say it's gonna be fun. I mean, it should always be fun, right? We try to always have fun, but you know, it might get into the bashing side of things a little bit because things are just not looking very pretty right now. This is 4 losses in a row. And I mean, is there an end in sight? I'm not really sure yet. I'm not feeling too great about it. But
a lot of people are actually wanting to kiss sisters, by the way. But just go ahead.
Next weekend, we do have a home game. So whether it's win, lose, or draw, everybody likes coming out to the stadium because we like to have fun at the stadium. It's a great environment with La Familia. And of course, we have a very special guest today, somebody that helps bring that energy to those tailgates, Mr. Mike. Man, I don't want to mess up your last name. Is it Longen?
Longen, yeah, no.
Longen, there you go.
Got the name
Mike
right.
Longen.
Super excited to be here. Super excited to bring some of the energy that we're going to have. Ooh. Man,
sorry,
I didn't expect the applause. That's awesome. No one ever applauses me.
Well, you should get an applause, man. I heard that those green lock tailgates are awesome.
No, they're amazing. And you know, we were saying just yesterday that with the losing streak going on, the only thing we can do is party even harder before the game, party even harder after the game, possibly party even harder during the game. If we just stop going to the games, we'll just sit in the parking lot and party. But yeah, bring the energy here that we're going to have in the parking lot, and hopefully maybe a chance we bring it actually into the stands and get a win, break this streak. I think all of us as Inter Miami fans know around game 7 or 8 of the season when we actually have that little win streak, and if we start feeling good again before it crashes down.
Well, I think that's the hard part of this season is that we got accustomed to starting really slow, and then game 6 we take off. But this season we decided to win the first 2 and kind of just, you know, get those juices flowing. We're like, oh, this year's gonna be a little different. We got the first 2 wins out the way. Oh, here we go. And then they brought us right back down to reality. But you know, it is what it is. It was a rough game this past Saturday, and I guess I'm gonna start. Let's jump right straight into it. Chris, your thoughts on the game against Cincy? What's going on, Esteban?
I mean, my thoughts are pretty basic. I thought that it was kind of sucky to see how terrible we were on offense. It really sucks to see that we couldn't even attempt to get one in the back of the net, right? There's one thing that Phil Neville did say in his post-game press conference where he was pretty accurate. The pressures are on the top on the final third. And, you know, I looked back a little bit at some of the game, and I really started to kind of see kind of what Phil Neville was talking about, where he believes that this was one of their best outings. I mean, that's a little far-fetched in my opinion, but I kind of understand where he's coming from in that aspect. What do you think about that, Mike, as far as their performance in the last game?
I mean, if we ignore the fact we can't score a goal and look at the first 2/3 of the field, I think there's some truth to it. We had ball control. I think about 62%, you know, possession or somewhere around there. We overpossessed on the game. Really, calendar was barely tested. The goal was a mistake or a fluke. You can look at a couple different ways. Obviously, Martinez shouldn't have stepped up and stopped covering. You know, maybe we stopped that goal from happening. So I can see the statement, right? Like if you look at just these facts, you be objective, we take our emotions out of it, there's some truth to it. But then we remember the fact that like the ball went backwards the whole game. We had possession because we started at the top third and passed, and then Calendar had it. And I think that's the conversation we're going to talk about a lot tonight is the fact the ball seems to go in the opposite direction and our guys don't want to take a shot. Like there's a fear of shooting right now that clearly starts on the practice field.
Well, I don't want to be that guy. Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. You want to be that guy. Just be that guy.
Okay, I'm gonna be that guy. After the first 2 games, I was telling you that I wasn't impressed with this offense because the first 4 goals, 2 were brilliant shots from outside the box, and 2 were just lucky shots in the first game. I told you that this offense wasn't looking good, and everybody's like, "Oh, but it's not all luck." It looks like all luck now because we haven't looked competent at all on offense. In that final third, we looked lost. This game, I thought we were in trouble because I thought they were going to press so often they would make a lot of mistakes in the back and turn the ball over. I was completely wrong. Cincy didn't press us at all. They said, you can't do anything in the final third. Go, bring the ball up. We're going to let you hold the possession, and good luck breaking us down. And we couldn't. We didn't do anything productive. What were you going to say, Chris? I'm sorry before I interrupted you.
Well, I just felt that it's kind of crazy that Negri, from my perspective, it seems like he's really the only one other than Mota that's about that life. Like that he and Mota are the only ones that are just willing to let it fly from just about anywhere on the field. Like he had 2 shots, not on goal, but he had 2 shots. I mean, Stefanelli had 3, Joseph Martinez had 3, but other than that, he was in third place in shots taken, which is crazy to me. Even though that's kind of what we want out of Negri, but like, come on, we're getting it from our left back.
It's you see the ball get to the top of the 18, and all of a sudden the backs turn to the goal and they want to pass it back. And that's where I kind of go back to the statement of it feels like on the practice field, they're constantly being told reset. And it's created this pattern where they just don't want to take the shot. Because there's a fear of taking the shot. There was, I think in the second half, I remember one time ball came in kind of the right side of the 18, and you had someone had a clear shot at goal, and he passed. He just wanted to go someplace else with the ball. He didn't want to take the shot. And you're right, Negri will take the shots. Martinez, like, I'm sure we're going to talk about the blank out train. I'm still a big fan of Martinez. I feel like once he opens his account that we're going to start seeing it ratchet up. I think we're going to see him get those 2 more goals to hit 100 real soon. But he's not putting the ball on net. You know, Mota and Negri seem to be put the ball near frame. But the other guys got to start taking some shots. And you know, the one I really want to see take some shots is Pizarro, because I think if you look at who has the engines on the field right now, Negri obviously, Pizarro wants to play on 90 and do something with the ball. The problem is he keeps on dribbling into people instead of just taking a shot or getting the pass to the right spot.
I'm gonna see if my take on Pizarro is accurate or not, or what you guys think, and I'll get to you first, Danny. But my take on Pizarro is I feel like maybe he's at a point where he doesn't have so much clout on the team, right? People are starting to see that he hustles. He's very energetic on offense, on defense. Look, you could tell that this guy has a talent of keeping the ball with him and being able to possess the ball. But I feel like he's playing a little reserved, and maybe he's doing it to play towards what Phil Neville's asking for, instead of being an aggressive center midfielder. Because like if there was a game that he had the opportunity to do it, it would have been this last game. He finally was put at the 10. But again, you see him be a little bit more reserved, and he's holding it back, and he's circling it back around and passing it to the side and passing it to the back. So Danny, I mean, what do you think about his play, about the way
that's always the criticism we've had of Pizarro, right? He holds on to the ball a little too long. I don't think it's a lack of aggression. I think this is the same Pizarro we've always seen. The one person that I think that has been lacking aggression has been Duke. Bryce Duke, I thought this was he's had opportunities now, because we were worried that he wasn't going to have opportunities to play much or to show his skill. He's getting opportunities. He's just not doing much with them. Ever since Gregory got injured, they started putting Duke and Taylor to kind of cover up that Gregory hole. But because of that, I feel like Bryce Duke has been very reserved, and he's scared to kind of push the ball up. And he's constantly pushing it back. Now, I'm going to give credit to Steve Munoz. Steve Munoz, he sent the picture in the Discord, and he showed us this picture. Now, I'm going to go based off of what he said, right? Because I don't remember this exactly. But he said that he took this screenshot. And this, as you can see, he's got a lot of green to his left. I want to say that that's Mota or Pizarro to his left. He could pass it there. And according to Steve Munoz in this picture, he ended up passing it backwards. He is playing it very, very safe. Why that is, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's tactically what Neville is telling him to do, or if he's just scared to push it up because he's trying to stay back as much as possible. What's up, Mike?
So I'll jump in there on the Duke piece, but I want to get the Pizarro piece too. I think Duke is what, 24, 23, he's a young guy. And here's his coach telling him pass backwards. You look at a guy like a Martinez. Martinez is not going to pass backwards, right? Like he's been doing this his whole life.
He's not.
He doesn't care what the coach says. He's going to play forward. Duke isn't going to do that, right? He's going to listen to his coach. So you ask why is he doing it? My assumption is because it's what Neville's telling him to do. He's listening to his coach. Pizarro, I don't want to give him a pass because I know we all love to watch him dribble into people. But I got to tell you, a lot of what I'm seeing from the stands and on TV is he's looking. Like you see him both hands down. Like where the hell do you want the ball right now? Like I'm trying to do something and no one's helping me out. And I've been seeing a lot of that from the wing play of we have guys going forward or even Mota down the center. Guys are going forward and no one's going with him. No one wants to make a run. You know, I don't know how many offsides calls we've had, but I don't think it's a lot because no one's even playing far enough to get offside.
Yeah.
So we're all staying parallel with the ball, not trying to get the run forward. And again, I think that's tactics. I don't think our guys want to be aggressive.
Well, and I think that Joseph also isn't the kind of player that's trying to get behind the line, right? Like you don't see him really trying to make, I guess, that backdoor. I mean, I keep saying backdoor because I play a lot of basketball, but like, you know, that run behind the defense. And so I don't see that very often either. I think the only players that I've seen it with is, I mean, Lassiter had, you know, a couple opportunities in terms of just his route running in that sense. But I see exactly what you're saying. Pizarro's looking around. It's not like he's necessarily going in circles like everybody says, but when he does progress forward, he's looking to build the play. It just so happens that nobody's pushing with him, so he has no other choice but to sort of restructure.
To Mike's point, when he brought up the offside. Oh, I'm sorry, just real quick.
I was going to say, Chris, your point. There are two other guys that are running forward. It's our backs. You see both Negri and Yedlin sprinting up the sides and then kind of looking like, where's the ball? And so I know eventually I want to cover the fact I think we have two wing backs and not two backs, but like our defensive guys are the ones trying to push forward and no one's going with them.
And back to what you were saying about the offsides, usually teams that are aggressive, right, that you try to run into that empty space when somebody's going to lead you in there with a nice touch or ball over the top, those are the teams that are aggressive and get a lot of offside calls. Right now, Inter Miami has the second least amount of offsides this season. We've only had 5 offside calls this year. Like usually, maybe you could say, hey, that's because, you know, we play smart. We have good timing. But generally, that's not the case. We have 5 offsides, and then the team with the least would be Colorado with 4. Colorado is not a good team right now. So,
by the way, Danny, I just want to call. I had no idea that was the stat. Right, this is my eye test telling if I've never seen an offside call, and the stats backing up the eye test.
Oh yeah.
No offsides over here. So as you like, we're just lost, and I think that, and not to harp on it, right? Because we've talked about this, and everybody's talked about it all so often, but that loss of Pozuelo is astronomical. Like, if I understand why they did it, right? The big fish in the summer, hopefully. But I feel like as an Inter Miami fan, I just want to win now. I don't care who's on the team. And I feel like maybe it wasn't the smartest decision, you know, hindsight being 2020, because at this point, if we end up tanking, what are the chances that Messi really wants to come to a team that's, you know, one of the worst in the MLS? I mean, chances are slim to none, I would assume.
I don't think Messi's coming for the like this. I mean, he who shall not be named, right? I don't even want to jinx it by naming the name at this point.
Baltimore.
He doesn't care what our record is before he gets here. He believes, and in fact, you can almost make the argument like he'll come and make it better because he's coming for the money, right? Like he's coming for the money, the team ownership. If he does come, I don't think that matters. I agree with you though. The Pozuelo loss was the biggest loss. I hate the fact the team. We're all assuming the team is making decisions based on Messi. Like they're holding out. We're not going for it. Everyone like that this assumption. I think the other piece here is we all tend to forget the sanctions. That also played a part in us not bringing Pozuelo back. And if he had come back, I do start to wonder, and I don't want to hate on Martinez. Like I'm not to that point yet. But knowing that we're going to have Martinez without Pozuelo, yeah, well, I'm saying if he doesn't he doesn't know about that count soon, I'm going to start change. But Martinez without Pozuelo, I am starting to question how that decision was made, right? Like, here is this guy who needs service. I have definitely bashed Martinez, and I always hear back, well, he's not getting service, he's not getting service, he's not getting service. But we don't have anyone to give him service, so you bring a guy on the team that can't get the thing he needs. Was that the right decision?
Okay, I'm sorry, Chris. I thought you were about to jump in. All right, well, now we talked about Martinez. The question is, do you think he's done, or like, I know it sounds like you haven't given up hope. I haven't given up hope. I won't give up hope until I see him next to Campana. If I see him next to Campana and he's freed up a bit on the top and he still can't produce, then I'm going to start questioning everything. But at this moment, I'm still holding off hope. Like, at first it was, well, he's not fit. He's not even playing 90 minutes a game. He's playing full 90 minutes now, right? So the question isn't, is he fit? The question is, has he lost a step? Mike,
but I think he's played. But I think he's played 90 minutes by default, though. No, like, I don't think, like, for example, the last time he played 90 minutes, it was only because there was a couple injuries and they already did all their substitutions, and he had to stay on the
90
field.
The last 3 games. Since the NYCFC game, he's played 90 minutes. Since the NYCFC game, he's played 90. Only 2 games. He shouldn't be, no. But
if you look at when he was playing for Atlanta, and I know he had the falling out with Atlanta, but when he scored the goal of the year for all of MLS last year, it was as a sub. He shouldn't be playing 90 minutes. To answer the question, I'm definitely not giving up Martinez. I don't think it's a service issue. I absolutely think he's not in form. And I thought you were pointing out. He's not in form.
I was talking to my wife. I'm sorry.
I don't think he's comfortable back with the ball. I don't know what's holding out the form, but you look at the shots, and I was posting on this on one of the chats. The shots he's missing, he's just botching the shots, right? Like, he's not getting good touch. He's putting them over the top. It's a soft. I think he had one that was a super soft to the goalie. I just think he's not in form yet. And I don't think he's done. I think he'll get in form. I think when Campana comes back and we can run a 2-striker set with Campana and somebody else, I think LaCava. I'm hot on LaCava still. I think or LaCava or someone else with Campana, and then the 60th or 70th minute, all of a sudden we bring in Joseph Martinez against a struggling entire defense. Like, there's some real opportunities there. And when we look back at this week's game, I think the stupidest thing we saw was the subbing out of Pizarro to bring. Who did we bring in for Pizarro?
Yes,
Lassie. Was it Lassie?
Yes.
What was that called?
Just real quick before you keep going, Pizarro has been getting subbed off in about the 60th minute every game, or at least the last 3 games. And I felt like the last 3 games, every time he's gotten subbed off, he was the best player on the field.
The Philadelphia game, he was sitting, because I have seats right on in the first row on the west side. We were sitting right above him as he's sucking down energy packets in like 75th minute, because he played the whole game and he was doing everything he could to stay in that game. He was sucking out Gatorade, energy. The trainers were constantly through because he was trying to keep going. So I know he can do the full 90. It made no sense to me to sub for Lassie. Like, I know in the chat they're going to bash Pizarro. I know you either love Pizarro or hate Pizarro, but he's one of 3 or 4 guys on the team that has an engine that wants to play right now. And
yes,
Martinez is not a 90-minute guy. And I'm okay with that. We didn't pay for him to be a 90-minute guy. We paid for him to be a super sub.
Correct. Well, I don't know about super sub, but I'm okay with him not running the 90. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, for me, I'm giving Martinez like 2 games with Campana. I think 2 games with Campana will be able to show us, as as a fan base, to be able to show us, hey, this guy can be able to start. This guy can be able to play big minutes, because that's what everybody was sort of like waiting for in the beginning of the season, right? They see the Campana and the Martinez sort of connection before the season started. They said, oh, this could be a good thing. We still haven't seen that. So at this point, I think, for me at least, I'm not going to be super against Martinez until I can be able to see him connect with Campana as well. But until we get to that point, like, we got to have another plan. Like you said, LaCava's got to come in or something.
I will say one thing I want to call out, because I'm not on the Borgelin train, like, at all. The first goal he scored was a complete fluke. It reminded me of the Emerson Rodriguez stupid goal from last year where he took 3 shots to put in the back of the net.
Oh, be careful with Chris. Don't talk about his Emerson Rodriguez.
No, but what I'd say is I'm not on Borgelin. But what I noticed was at the 70th minute when he came in, man, did our offense start looking better. And to me, what that really showed, because someone told me that that's what I was seeing, was the 2-striker set is the offense we should be running. Like, I think we should be running, and we'll get this. I think we should be running essentially a 5-3-2 or something that looks about like that with wing backs and 3 midfielders and a 2-striker set. I think that's the way we should be doing it. We need the big striker on. So as long as Campana is injured, I do think Borgelin should be playing up front. At least it takes the pressure off whoever's up there. But we look a lot better when we have 2 active strikers than when we don't.
Yes.
Just to get back to the Cincy game a second, what did you think was the best play that Joseph Martinez made that game, if there was any? Because I have one that nobody really talks about, and it wasn't even an offensive play.
I thought the play that stuck out to me most was in the box. He had a one-timer that trickled off his foot and should have gone in the back of the net. And I kind of go back to, I just don't think he's in form.
Oh.
I don't think he made a useful play the whole game. I know he had, 3 shots, none with power. So you think about a goal, a striker, you want
that
some
one
power and
touch.
accuracy.
It was
Neither
a light
had both
touch.
Power and accuracy. Yeah, very light touch. I don't.
The play
really
that I
remember
felt
him doing much
the play that I feel goes without mentioning. The reason we almost got that penalty kick is because he jumped in front of a pass when he was pressing the defender, and he cut that ball. He won that ball inside his own box, and he passed it out to Stefanelli, which got it to Pizarro, which almost led to that penalty. Joseph's active. He's active when he presses. Now, he doesn't press as much as I wish he would, but he's active. And if he would have gotten that ball and we would have gotten that penalty kick, it would have been all due to him because he made that entire play when he won that ball. Joseph, it's not like he's out there not trying, right? Like, if he doesn't get the ball, he's not walking around. He's trying. And I still have hope that when Campana gets out on the field, he's going to get unlocked because he's trying. He's busting his ass. And I thought that play got overlooked because the penalty or the lack thereof right after kind of overshadowed everything, and nobody talked about the fact that he won that ball. He almost gave us a scoring play.
And I do agree with that statement, by the way, of he's got energy. He is trying. I think back to Gonzalo. And Gonzalo with the flappy arms, whenever he got frustrated, I've never seen Martinez be frustrated. I've always seen him play, the full, as long as he's in there, he's playing full on. That's why I haven't given up on him. I'm frustrated by him as a fan. I want to see a heavy strike on frame. We haven't seen that yet. I don't think I said this in a chat the other day. Someone said I'm wrong, but I cannot remember a single strike that Martinez has taken so far that a goalie actually had to defend. Like, the goalie was pressured or really went for it and was a tough save. Maybe it's happened. I just don't remember it yet.
No, it hasn't.
But I want to see one of those.
All right. Real quick to the Borgelin. I'm okay with seeing Borgelin come in if it could get us to play that two forward set while we wait for Campana. Although, I mean, I said it last week, but because we're playing at home and it's an additional week, I would hope that now Campana is set to come back this week.
Oh my
but if it's not,
I hope so.
I would like to see Borgelin up there. We need to play that 2-striker set. That's what we've been basically setting up for all preseason, and I felt like we were adjusting on the fly, and it hasn't worked out. Now, I think Borgelin would be great up there.
I think we got to stop this Stefanelli stuff here with Stefanelli playing the CF up here like that. That's gotta go in the garbage. We can't be doing that anymore. If we got Borgelin and we got LaCava, he could be able to facilitate that role. I think better than Stefanelli. No.
How has LaCava looked so far in?
So I didn't see it. Yeah, he had a real bad IMCF2 game last week. I know everyone's kind of because I've been hot on the LaCava train, and people have been like, no, he had a bad IMCF2 game. He's nothing. I'm like, guys, this guy was killing it in USL, right? Like, for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, he could score goals. IMCF2 is not IMCF1. The expectations and walking onto a field, walking onto a full pitch with full fans, we've been filling up the stands, is not the same as being in an empty stadium. Some people feed off the energy. I see in the chat, people go, and he's not first team ready. How do we know he's not first teamer? Put him on the pitch for 10 minutes and let's see if he can play. Could we be doing any worse? We're on a 4-game losing streak right now. Like, new ideas are worth trying when things aren't working. And again, I'm going to call out Borgelin's one goal. I could have scored. Like, my 10-year-old could have scored. It just, he was standing there, and the little short guy from Montreal didn't even try to stop it on the second time.
Well, and I think that your point is super valid, because at this point, if we're going to have, if we're going to have Borgelin get more minutes because of that goal, and then we're going to have the Stefanelli, striker experiment, I don't see why we don't try LaCava up top for what, 10 minutes?
Because if he's not producing on the 2 team, why would he put it? He has to earn it, no? Like, you can't just be like, well, he did good in what was it, Tampa Bay Mutiny or Rowdies or whatever the hell they're called. Like, let's bring him down here and he's got to earn it. Once he starts producing down there, then we can give him a try. I'm all for the Borgelin.
Listen, again, 4-game losing streak. We have shown no offense. We do nothing in the top third. You have a guy that has shown an ability to score goals. I'm not saying start him, but we have played. We started Harvey Neville right back 2 weeks ago, right? Like, I know he's played well in IMCF too, but no one thought he was a starter. No one still thinks he's a legit starter in MLS, and we did that.
But I think that is more out of necessity, because at the moment, look, when everybody was talking about Yedlin and Negrina coming back, I think that shows up a lot more towards the end of the game, because they're going up and down like what you said, like wing backs, even though they're playing as fullbacks. So by the time the end of the game comes, they're exhausted. So you have to sub them out at some point. But we only have one backup fullback. We have Harry Neville because Noah Allen is injured. McVay's playing center back. Who else do we have that plays fullback?
But
Robert Taylor, I guess,
going back to my
technically
statement about LaCava, I moved this over to I moved this on Neville, but like, again, 10 minutes of LaCava come in. We're not winning. We need a spark. We need something new. If Neville is comfortable enough to say yes, LaCava can come to the bench, because he's been on the bench two or maybe in the last 3 games. If you think he can come to the bench, you're somewhat saying he can come play in the right circumstances, and yet we're not seeing that at all. And I get people like Borgelin when he comes in, we see differences, but also Borgelin tends to make a decent 2-striker set. LaCava can do the same thing. And I'm pretty sure if we had LaCava and Borgelin in there, those are 2 pretty strong, aggressive guys. It's going to cause a fit. Something will happen. Try it. If we're down, which I'm going to say, I expect us to be down on Saturday. If we're down towards the end of the game and we need a spark, let's try something new.
Well, and last game we only subbed in 3 people. I mean, we have a total
all 3
of 5
windows, though, 1 per window.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Management.
I'm with you on the trying something new, but I want to more look into trying something new as far as a formation goes. I don't know if I want to maybe just throw in LaCava in there to start. Well, you said you wanted him as a sub, but I want a new formation. Like I think you and I were talking about earlier, how we both kind of want the 3 in the back with the wing backs out there. But before we get to that, because I do want to get to that, obviously, once you go on a 4-game losing streak, the Neville out starts. Now, are we on this train? I'm going to start with Chris, because Chris hates when people call for coaches' jobs. So I'm going to start with you, Chris.
Well,
are you on the Neville out train?
We talked a little bit about it, before we started the show. I think that the argument of the fire coach thing is extremely lazy. It's a very easy argument. And that's something that I've always hated in sports, just period. I've never been one to say fire Phil, but if there's any game, it was last game that is like getting me towards the edge of getting to say fire Phil, right? I think that there's a mix of Phil's little blueprint of what he wants going on in the game, and he just doesn't have the right pieces. But if last game was just clear, you could see that he was misguiding this team. Mike, you talked a little bit about it. What's your opinion on the fire Phil deal?
I've been the staunchest anti Neville out guy. I thought last season he turned the team around. I think he was not even given enough credit for what he did with Higuain. Like, Higuain was done halfway through the season. Neville made the hard call. I'm sure Beckham backed him, but he made the hard call. And so I've supported him time and again. And last game on the same way. If I'm not on the train right now, I'm definitely at the station, right? Like I'm sitting there, I'm about to flip, I'm kind of flipping. And what I've come to realize is, and it's so funny to make this in this time, I'm starting to call him Nev Lasso because I think he's a great player coach. He's a great team coach. He understands locker room dynamics. He's been in locker rooms for his entire life. He understands you got to build a team. I am highly confident he can coach a guy like Martinez. Martinez may flip another table. It might happen. There might be some chicken and some rice, but he can handle that. What he's constantly showing, though, is he can't handle tactical formations. He's not the guy in the field, or you're telling him how to do it. He needs his coach beard. We've never talked ever about whoever the assistant coach is on this team. I do not know who it is. I've never even heard the name. Oh, there you go. So, like, whoever the assistant coach is needs to be the tactical one, and I don't see that. I sit kind of behind the coach's box. It's only Neville ever up. You never see anyone else standing up or trying to shout the team. So I think we need to make a major adjustment of how we're doing tactical work. I think Neville over-trusts his players. I think we go back to why is Pizarro doing one thing and Yedlin doing another, because Neville's kind of saying as a coach, I trust my players, you do the right thing. Versus if you look at, I saw this comparison recently, you look at Barcelona and their triangles. They know where they're supposed to be at all times. They have exact positions. One guy's here, here, and here. They're constantly opening up space. We are the anti-Barcelona, and our players are too young and are not good enough to be given that ability of freedom. And I think the one we're seeing the most trouble with that of all people right now is Bryce Duke, because Bryce Duke doesn't understand how to be free. So all he's remembering is his coach yelled at him and he didn't pass backwards recently. So he keeps on passing backwards again. So something's got to change. I think it's Neville. I don't think it's lazy to save its time. Like, we're seeing evidence that's not happening. The problem is, I don't think there's a replacement. Like, who's going to come in and say, hey, I'm going to take the team that's halfway through a season in MLS that doesn't have Messi yet. Like, there's not a lot selling this job. We're still under sanctions. The fact is that we could have replaced Gregory with another DP at this point. Like, the rules say we can do it. It hasn't happened yet. We didn't even go look at the guy. As far as we know, we haven't gotten the guy from Ukraine that Sergey was telling us to go look at. So I think it's time to start seriously considering a change. But I don't actually know if it matters, because I don't think we're going to really get a big name to come halfway through a season. So I'm on the train, I guess. But I don't know why I'm on it, because it almost doesn't make sense.
You said last year he turned the team around. Now, I'm going to go two ways with this. First, last year, does he get the credit or does Pozuelo get the credit? Because if Pozuelo doesn't show up, I don't think this team has the turnaround that it did.
I don't think that Higuain. No, I think even if Pozuelo showed up and Higuain had never been benched, it didn't get better. I think the team itself fractured. So you saw, great, these two guys are playing, but no one else wants to play with them. Remember, we all know the reason Pizarro left or was kicked out was because of locker room issues. And Higuain was not getting better in the locker room. And all of a sudden, Neville benched him, and he got better in the locker room. So I'd almost ask the question, without Henderson and Neville being in line with how they wanted to deal with Higuain, do they even spend the money on Pozuelo? And I would say the answer is probably not, because they knew what the problems they had to deal with were. So I give him full credit. Like, Pozuelo, hands down from a tactical perspective, made a difference. But now let's talk about that, which is you had Pozuelo and you had Higuain. They weren't being coached on how they played at that point. They were playing soccer as they knew it. They knew how to do those things. They didn't need someone telling them what to do, which is where we don't have today.
Well, that's where I was going with this. Is I feel like Pozuelo was the catalyst for the change, but I think Neville had a lot to do with it, and he doesn't get enough credit because of the fact that we were playing up the wings before Pozuelo got there. And once we had that 10, Neville changed things up completely. He stopped playing with 5 in the back. He started playing up the middle. Like, he changed his formation once he had the players to do so. So the reason I think he did, because at that point we weren't going up the wings anymore. We were attacking straight through Pozuelo in the middle.
So two things. I think we got rid of the 3-man back line pretty early in the season before even Pozuelo was there. So, like, the wing play.
I think that was right in the summer.
I
could be wrong, but
I thought it was when we were still in USL. Like, we had moved away from it when you were. Hopefully, some of the comments will tell me, but I thought it
Yeah,
was back during the
'cause-
USL time we'd gotten rid of it. 'Cause I have very little memory of Sailor, Mabika, and Sailor, McVeigh,
Robert Taylor
and
was
Lowe
playing
from-
right wing back. I remember, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, "Here we
No,
go,
but
Lewis
Yedlin
Morgan
was
all
here
over
all
again."
last season. He was playing right. Right back was always
I mean,
Yedlin all last season.
Left back,
And
I'm
left
sorry,
was
wing back.
McVeigh. McVeigh was left.
McVeigh was,
right,
and
and
then Robert Taylor would come in also.
Well, Robert Taylor plays a really good. So the one thing I've definitely noticed this season, I see it even more, is Robbie Taylor. If Yedlin comes up, Robbie Taylor is the first guy to come back. Like always,
Yeah, to cover
and
his
that goes back
post.
to, like, when they say Yedlin doesn't track back, he doesn't have to a lot of times because especially if Taylor's on the field, Taylor tracks back for him.
Well, that was last game when Taylor was playing. Before, Taylor hasn't been playing because he was on international duty, and he's been
going
subbed
back.
in.
I think you had a couple guys on the team last year. I'm going to call it Yedlin, and you had Lowe who wanted to play forward. You had Yedlin now who had Pozuelo to pass to. So I think the ball started moving towards Pozuelo because the team felt comfortable. Again, I'm not giving Neville credit for this. I think the team understood. Hey, Pozuelo, former MLS player of the year, I'm going to give him the ball so that Pepita will yell at him and not me anymore. Like that's how I see it played out last year.
That's not how I don't see it at all. I feel like it was tactical, but again, maybe you're right, but I think it was tactical. I think that they were going to. But my point being, this season, Neville again doesn't have the key players on this team. Everybody thought who would be the MVP before the season started? Campana. He's been out. Who's going to be the cog in the defense? Gregory is the most important player on the defense. He's now out. Do we give Neville a pass because he's lost so many important pieces that he has to try to figure things out and he's putting players to play in places that they shouldn't be? And not because it's Neville ball, but because, well, he has no other option.
I don't because, okay, let's say New York City, obviously we give him the pass on. And then
that New York City crap. Yeah. That was
the game after
Toronto.
Okay, Toronto, maybe you give him the pass for. But after Toronto, where we haven't seen a tactical change to accommodate the fact that Gregory, who we all know is a CDM, but played more like a center back, or played kind of a hybrid CDM center back role, he's done nothing to replace that. And considering that we all know, and we're not at practice field, but we all know Mota is not a direct placement for Gregory. And yet
but he tried with Ulloa. Ulloa just isn't that guy.
But we knew, and again, as a fan, when I saw Ulloa go in, I'm like, that is not Gregory 2.0. Like, that's not going to happen. So I don't give him the pass because I haven't seen a tactical formation adjustment to adjust for a fact that arguably one of our best players is done for the season. It's
well, and he's
show me something.
Well, and he's basically sticking with the same formation and just plugging Duke back there, which is why I've been such a big supporter of getting Cremaschi back there, because I feel like at least Cremaschi's maybe he's a little better defensively, plays more aggressive, he's a lot more active. But putting Duke back there in place of Gregory, to me, is just mind-blowing. I just don't understand where he's going with that.
By the way, I don't know if anyone, just total side note, I don't know if anyone's playing FIFA right now, but they built a Gregory CAM.
Oh, yeah, you saw that? Like, the birthday card?
It's amazing. I play with him. He's like my starting center midfielder, center attacking midfielder. He's an unbelievable card. I'm like, it has no basis in reality whatsoever, but it's a great card.
Guy said a center attacking midfielder. Like, what? Yeah. What are we doing there?
And they had Pozuelo's picture up the first couple hours. It was Gregory's card with Pozuelo's picture. But I listen. Let's have this conversation. 3-man backline. Like, to me, that is the natural answer that we should be trying. Let's put Sergey in the middle. On the left, McVeigh. On the right, Sailor. We got to think about Sailor on the right, or Mabika. We've got Yedlin over at farther right. We've got Negri farther left. Let the wing backs play farther forward. And yet we still have 3 guys tracking back, holding the defense with Sergey, our Champions League level, center back, anchoring it. And then free up Mota to have the middle of the field. And then there's Pizarro, Cremaschi, Duke. Now they have independence because our back end is protected.
That's what Cincy did to us this past weekend. They were playing with the 3 in the back and the wing backs. And I remember last year when we were playing extra defensive, that's when everybody was calling Neville ball, right? Because we played way too defensive. Now this year we're playing way too offensive because we have our fullbacks basically playing over there up top like wings. Now to the point where you were saying that we don't have the players to kind of take the place of the players that we've lost so far. You said that a lot of that is on Neville because he hasn't changed things. At what point do we start to question Henderson? Because I feel like he's kind of gotten away. Oh, but I feel like he's kind of gotten away scot-free. Yeah. Everybody's like, hey, we got to replace the CDM. That's not Neville's job to replace the CDM. We have somebody that's job that is, and he hasn't addressed it yet.
Danny or Chris, you mind if I answer or give you a chance?
Yeah, you can answer because let me tell you, Danny is about to get destroyed in the chat. So yes, you can can go ahead and answer.
So let's address some facts, right? Before we even have this conversation. One, we are under sanctions and are limited on how much money you can spend. Two, our ownership wants a certain player from Argentina to wear number 10, and they are chasing him with no regard to our current status, right? Like, I don't think anyone thinks the Moss brothers really care about the season if they think they can have Messi for 2.5 seasons. They're willing to bet it all on Messi.
But Gregory's being out for the season frees up that second DP spot. So we can address that spot. We just haven't yet.
We can.
You said yourself. You said yourself that Christoph told us, hey, my buddy wants to come over. He's a CDM over there. Let's go get him. And Henderson's kind of just chilling back there like, let's see what happens.
But we do not know who else the club has been talking to from Europe, right? Like, we don't know what's going on out there. So if we replace, let's say we bring over Sergei's buddy. Well, he's not going to want a 7-month contract. He's going to want guarantees, which means he occupies a DP slot into 2024 and 2025. Well, maybe the club, and I'm just speculating here, right? Like, I legit have no information. Everyone jokes that I always say hi to the Moss brothers, but I can promise you I'm not on their G6. I'm not flying around with them like getting info. But we don't know who they have, in pencil coming over. I know everyone thinks it's Busquets, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But there could be a third name that we're not thinking about or someone else we're not thinking about. We don't know. So I think that Hendo, I truly believe Hendo is basically negotiating with both hands handcuffed behind his back. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. He can only do so many things. And so I do give him a pass. I'll give him, I think, no matter what, Hendo gets one full season out of sanctions before we even really start discussing, is Hendo the guy we want to trust going forward? But it's still another 18 months with him because look where he's gotten us. We are not the same team we were 2 years ago. We've come through sanctions amazingly. We did get Martinez. We got Pozuelo. I just think
we got Pozuelo. We lost Pozuelo. We got Joseph, and he's been a ghost so far.
Yeah.
What has Hendo done exactly that everybody's on his jock?
But Messi,
I mean, we made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because of Neville and Pozuelo.
Yeah.
But he got Pozuelo. You can't be like, what's he done? We got Pozuelo. We got him.
But he lost him.
Well, I mean,
you can't have that
he lost him.
ways.
Yes, you can. He lost him. We should have kept him. We would still be doing well right now if we wouldn't have lost him.
The club sacrificed Pozuelo for Messi.
Hendo dropped the ball.
The Moss brothers. I mean, if you want to say, are we losing trust in ownership? That is a very interesting conversation I'm happy to have. But are we losing trust in Henderson, who's being forced to negotiate in certain ways? We're not. We shouldn't be there yet.
So basically, everybody in the organization is eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to save every single dollar and nickel to get Messi onto the team by summertime. So that's basically what's happening. That's from your sources, the Moss brothers, right, Mike?
Yeah, you know what? They just texted me right now. They said, Mike, shut up. They're listening to the show. You see that guy JV saying that I'm contradicting him? That's actually the Moss brothers covering up for themselves.
Look, and I want to be clear. I'm just playing devil advocate here with Hendo. I love Hendo. I think he's done a great job. But when I try to take a step back from my fandom, right, and I try to take just an unbiased look at things, everybody says what we're lacking is a number 10, and now that Gregory's out, a number 6. We don't have any 10 on this team. Nobody. No true number 10. Bryce Duke is the closest thing I can think of, and he's not really a 10. And then we have no 6. We don't have a defensive midfielder. Nowhere. The closest thing we have is Ulloa, and everybody says he's not really that guy. Those two important spots haven't been addressed. And I understand that maybe he can't use his DP spot because Gregory isn't officially out for the season, or we have sanctions. But as a GM, he needs to cover those bases. So instead of filling up the roster with 37 midfielders, right? Number 8, so we got Kramashi, Duke, Pizarro, and all these other people. We should have addressed a defensive midfield. We should have addressed an attacking midfield, and that wasn't addressed by him. Now, I understand, like you said,
and that's fair.
there's certain things that he
And
can and
that's
can't
fair.
do.
I'm not going to disagree
but-
that Henderson could do a better job, right? Like all of us can do better jobs. I'm not saying that he's perfect. He's the greatest necessarily GM in the country, but I think what you're asking is, do I still trust him and still believe he should be driving this team? Yes, I do. And I think he has the right to do that until we get past sanctions and see what he can do.
I agree. I think that some people should kind of be like, well, let's not forget that Neville is playing without an attacking midfielder, an attacking defensive midfielder, and he's just throwing just a bunch of midfielders to just do everything and figure things out.
Let me throw this out. So let me ask you this question now. If Gregory was still here, would our offensive woes really be that much different?
No,
Exactly.
but we would be winning.
Is...
No, we wouldn't. It'd still be horrible. Like I've been saying all season, even after we won those games, I thought our offense was horrible. But defensively, we would look as good as we did those first 2 games. Those first 2 games, we look good. And then that third game against NYCFC.
Okay, so the first 2 games, we scored a goal off the first set piece and the horrible Borgelin score. So there was no offense that won those games for us.
Correct.
It was
right. No, the offense has been horrible. And then the second game, it was two beautiful strikes outside the box. Right. But I'm not talking about the offense. I'm talking about the defense, because we're getting scored on right now. We could be going 0-0 draws and everybody would be happy. Not happy, but we'd be getting points. But we're not getting points because we keep getting scored on. Last game, what happened? Cincy only beat us 1-0. Why is that? Because they didn't think we could score on them. They weren't pressing us. They were allowing us to come attack them.
But they only scored on us. It works both ways, right? The first half, they also only scored us from a crap set piece. They were trying to score more, and then they kind of gave up. But it was a crap set piece. Like, that should not have been a goal.
It was. And off a header also. And I brought this up last week, and I'll bring it up again. We're still, by far, percentage-wise, the worst team in the I'm about to say NFL, in the MLS. Winning headers. I think we win them at a rate of we went up to 34.9. Okay, so we went up 1 percentage point. Brutal. Yeah, but that is by far the worst percentage in the league.
Well, I mean, half of it's when a 5-foot-tall Duke is playing and he's trying to battle for headers and nowhere's near it. Like.
Well, I mean, the two players marking, I forgot who it was that scored for Cincy, was Yerlin that was behind him. And then Martinez, who was supposed to be marking right in front of him, and then he took a couple steps forward. But even if he would have been on him,
I don't remember what MLS show I was watching. They did a comparison. Martinez still has ups. Like, Martinez can get up and defend with his head. Like, he can get up way higher than it was on one of the shows. I think on the pre-show I was watching.
And Yedlin can too.
He has that ability. Say again.
And Yedlin can too. That he's a little Yoshi. He's got bounce.
It was just like I said, Martinez, if he held his ground that spot, or someone says, hey, maybe the shortest guy on the team shouldn't be marking the front post. Like there's some things to consider there.
All right. So were there any positives that any one of you guys took out of the loss on Saturday? I'll start with you, Chris. Any positives out of Saturday's loss?
I liked how Pizarro played. I don't know if I used that same positive last game, but I'm really liking the way Pizarro is playing. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one. The only problem is it's like you said in one of our last episodes, right? If he wasn't a DP and he was some young gunner on the team, everybody would be like, oh, he's awesome. We're getting an awesome player. But since he is a DP, it's a lot more expectations. I just don't feel like the team is helping him. The players are helping him to excel when he does make the strong push. But he's been probably the most impressive player on the team, aside from the obvious and Negri. And what about you, Mike?
And Christoph?
I think there's a bunch of positives, to be fair. I'm going to be glass half full. First off, no run and play goals. I get, Danny, your point. They weren't really pressing, but fine. Still, things happen. There was we had counterattacks against us, no run of play goals. I don't recall.
They still had 11 shots.
Mistakes. Calendar still has a wall back there. His distribution still sucks. What was that? With like in the 85th minute where he just puts the ball right out of bounds was horrible. But he's still a wall. Our defense, I think, I'm gonna say, is playing well, especially since our defense really is two guys, because our wingbacks are nowhere to be found on defense all times. I think that's a positive. And frankly, I'd say the third one is I still think when we put the two striker set in, we look strong. We just can't execute yet. And so I think if you want to, I'm going to contradict. I contradicted myself earlier. I don't know what I said, but I'm going to contradict myself here. I do think when Neville sticks to the two striker set, we see some positives out of it. We just don't have the guys that can implement it because, again, I have no faith in Borgelin, and Martinez seems to be off his game a little bit. But I do think if we look in the first third of the field, there's a lot of positives right now. And if we can free up the wingbacks and protect our backside and let them get really aggressive into the offense, you will see crosses. A lot of people make fun of Yedlin's crosses. I don't know what they're making fun of because he puts that ball into the center a lot. Now, a lot of times we go back to the fact that none of our guys are in the middle of the box, right? Like they should be someone there, and Yedlin puts it in, and then he's kind of wondering where the hell everyone was, which is where we kind of go back to the original problem with the entire team does not have aggressive. I want to point one thing out. I don't know if you guys watched the last 5 minutes of the St. Louis game when they were down 1-0 and about to lose. So St. Louis obviously is 5-1 now. They lost the first game of their season. They were down 1-0. Let me tell you, the last 5 minutes, that team did everything to score.
They were battling,
including last corner kick. Their goalie was in on that corner kick. Yet you look at our team, last corner kick. Where's Calendar? He's still protecting the goal.
Wasn't Drake? I think Drake went up there. Drake was up there.
No,
he didn't go for the ball. He wasn't, but I think he was up there.
Up there. He wasn't. I'm expecting. I mean, I've seen Navas do it, like them in the middle of the box in the goalie uniform, trying to get that do something, mark a player. No, we didn't do it. We don't look aggressive. Yeah. So see, Steve's backing me up.
Yeah,
Drake was not up there in the box.
There. Why did I think he was up there? I thought he was up there.
And that has to change.
Positives from this game, I thought Mota has been dropping dimes. He's been dropping some beautiful passes. I feel like Mota has looked a lot better. Unfortunately, because Gregory's out, he's forced to not push up as much as he usually does, which is, one of the many effects of Gregory being out. Another thing, I think absolutely nobody was giving us a chance to be Cincinnati this past weekend. I felt like for the most part, the game wasn't as lopsided as everybody thought it would be. Outside of that one set piece, I mean, like I said, they weren't necessarily pressing us, but we didn't look horrible. I thought that everybody thought that we were just going to be a shellacking, and I thought we held our own.
I saw someone predict like a 4-0 loss. Like we were expected not to win this game.
Yeah,
and
we
again,
were expected to not be
I get that Cincinnati didn't press, but they didn't. Like we held our own. It was a 1-0 loss on a stupid goal where we couldn't come back.
No, and look, they still have Vasquez, they still have Brenner, like they still have Acosta, like they have ballers and they had opportunities. And just because they didn't press, but they still were playing the ball and they had opportunities, but we held our own. So I'm happy. And there was a counter. I want to say it was Acosta that was running down the left side, and Yedlin, for somebody that everybody says that he doesn't get back, he hustled his ass off to catch up to Acosta, and he stopped that counter. So Yedlin is still hustling. I know last week he had his mishaps with Chicago, but it is what it is. Go ahead, Chris.
No, yeah. I mean, the question you're basically asking, if we were better than what was anticipated. I mean, we were a ton of people were just anticipating that we were going to get our asses handed to us. So to me, to come out with a 1-0 loss, I think actually reflects pretty well on our defense. And one of the people you mentioned as one of the shining, I guess, players is Kristoff. I mean, to me, he's been super solid in the back line. So I think that we got away with a pretty decent performance, especially on defense. Yeah, Mike.
I'll throw one other thing out there, which no one's really saying, and we haven't covered. It was 42 degrees and rainy. These are not inner Miami conditions to be successful. We're on the road. Like this is a game. A team like Cincinnati should have had their way with us. And I get it. They did not seem to have a game plan. They had a game plan built for us, not necessarily to score a ton of goals. But I think the positive is if we can figure out how to score a goal. And by the way, let's call this out. If Martinez had nailed that shot he had a chance with, and we got the PK, that game looks entirely different. Then it becomes another 4-4 shootout with Cincinnati and both teams going back and forth. We didn't convert on the chances we were given, and they converted on the chance they did. That's what this game came down to.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I want to give Matthew a shout out. Matthew, last episode we had somebody from Cincy Soccer Talk come on here, and they said that their weakness was set pieces. And Matthew came out in the comment section and immediately said, "For sure, we're giving up a set piece goal." And on the money, that's the only goal they scored on their weakness, a set piece goal, and it just is what it is. It's kind of what you come to expect when you're a battered Heron, I guess. All right. So we looked better, and if you look back at so far this season, we didn't give up a goal the first 3 games, right? Because the NYCFC one was an own goal. Then we had Toronto; they scored twice. That Chicago game was a disaster. You know what? I'm trying to remember right now. I can't even remember how they scored outside of that last goal by Kai Kamara. I can't remember those first 2 goals. But then last game, a set piece goal, 1-0. That was like, for the most part, even without Gregory, our defense hasn't necessarily, I guess, looked horrible. We've held our own. It's not like we've been getting shellacked by like 4 or 5 goals. We've been holding our own, but I think it's to the detriment of the offense because we're forcing Mota and Bryce Duke to stay back so much to kind of make up for that. So that's what I wanted to lead into this, because I know what you might say, because I think you've said it a few times already, Mike. Starting 11 coming up this week, what would you like to see different?
I mean, I know we won't see it, right? Like, this is where I go. I'm stepping onto the Neville Loud train. I know he's not going to give us the back 3 I want. I really want to see Kristoff in the middle of the back. I want to see McVeigh on his left, because I think he can play left back, so pretty sure he can play pretty decent left center back. And then I think we give Ivica a chance. We give Sailor a chance on the right side. We go for 5, 3 midfielders. I think it's Pizarro, it's Stefanelli, and Taylor. I don't want to see start. I think he's a sub still. I love Taylor. I think he's an awesome guy. Find a third center midfielder, and then Mota. I'm missing Mota. Yeah, Pizarro, Mota, and Stefanelli. And then I want to see a true 2-striker set from the beginning. Obviously, it's going to be Martinez, though. I don't know. I think I said it here or said in free. Like, he's a super sub to me. But if Campana's not in, Martinez, Coco. If Campana's here, Martinez and Campana. If Coco's not here, Martinez and Borgelin. Let's just start it. I'm not on the train, but I'm willing to give it a shot. But I really want to see the 5 in the back, and obviously Negri and Yedlin as wingbacks. And then we go from there and we try it out. Dallas is going to be a tough game, but it's going to be tougher if we don't try anything new, because every team now knows what to expect from us. The tape looks the same game in and game out. They're going to build something to come at us. We got to do something different.
Oh, I think they're going to be inviting us to attack until we figure out how to finish in that final third. If Campana comes back, Chris, I'll start with you. If Campana comes back, you think he starts or he comes off the bench?
No, I think he's got to start, man. I think he's got to start. Like, how long has it been already? Like 5 years since he's played a game? Like, come on. Like, where you've been, the crazy thing is that there's been nothing spoken to the media, nothing said to the reporters about how far he's been progressing, how far along he is ready to play. This is insane. I think all of us saw an Instagram story for Campana. I mean, at this point, he's got to play this game. People were expecting him to play the last one. Thank God he didn't, because like you said, it was a frozen tundra out there, Mike. So if there's any time to play him, it's got to be this coming game. So I would anticipate him to be in the starting 11. No, Danny?
What about you, Mike, if he comes back?
So what's interesting is we talk about Hendo's decisions, and it seemed like a foregone conclusion that we were gonna pick up Campana's thing. I'm starting to wonder if he doesn't start in the next 2 games, was that a mistake? Like, here's a guy we knew was injury prone. We saw it last year. He hasn't played the first 6 games so far. There's a reason why Ecuador didn't take him. Look at the dude. He's a Greek statue. He didn't take him to the World Cup. Like, what did they know that we don't? I am starting to. If you want to talk to one guy, I'm starting to kind of get concerned about is Campana's supposed to be the face and vision of this team, and he's not playing.
Yes.
And so Chris, I don't necessarily think I agree with you have to start him because I am concerned about the injury thing, but we got to get him on the pitch and playing. We don't know what the injuries
It's
are.
it's a weird place to be in, right? Because like you want to see him start because, like you said, he's like the face of the team. But then at the same time, you amongst a lot of other fans are worried about whether this guy's going to hold up. I mean, I don't want to go as far as to say Robbie Robinson-esque, right? But
he is, right? Like he is.
It's kind of getting there.
So my answer, okay. So I say you don't start him. I think we're on our 7th game. We have not started USAC yet. We have not started Leagues Cup yet. Like, this is a long season. We've got 26 regular season games plus at least 2 Leagues Cups plus a US Open match coming up. So I think you do start him slow. I think what I want to see is you start. I can't believe I'm saying this. You start Borgelin with a plan in the 60th or 70th minute. You're swapping him out.
I could see that. I could definitely. What do you think, Danny? I mean, I can see what Mike is saying for sure.
I think I don't want to see Stefanelli start. I'm done with the cardio experiment. He just runs around everywhere. I really don't think he's much impactful. I would like to see a 2-striker set. I would like to see 5 in the back or 3 in the back with 2 wing backs, right? 3-5 or 5-3, whatever you guys, different people call it different things. Because I think that the fact that Mota and Duke are constantly staying back to cover up for those backs running all the way up the field is why they haven't been producing very much offensively. If you free them up to push up a little more, maybe we can get a little more creative in the final third. And if Campana were to come back, I would like to see him start. I would like to see him start and maybe get subbed off in the 60th minute, 65th minute for Borgelin or La Cava or somebody. But I would like to see him start, man. I think that it would give this team kind of a shot of energy just to see him on the pitch. Yeah, I know it would give the stadium, everybody seeing him out there, it would be really hyped up. And if he were to contribute, somehow scoring a goal or an assist, or just making a nice play, I think that would be good.
What's to do this stadium with 10? We're in minute 10. He feels a little tightness and he raises his hand like, "Pull me out, coach." Like, I heard someone gave me the advice a long time ago. You never start a guy that can't go the full 90. And I get there are certain circumstances where that's probably not true.
I get that.
That person you're going to put in there better be an all-star and make a difference in the first 60. Campana's not there today. And we look at the problems. Just say one thing.
I was going to say,
you look at what Martinez is going, where Martinez is not in shape. What do you think Campana is going to look like when he hasn't played, since the second or third to last game last season? Has not really played since then. Played a little bit in preseason. I think he played preseason a little bit, but for the most part has not played. And now we're going to stick him in and expect him to start and make a difference. We're putting a ton of pressure on a very young guy who's injury prone. The result
maybe because he's young, but I think it's along the lines of what we did with Martinez the first 2 games. Like they said that he wasn't fit to play 90. So they started him and they took him off, the 60th minute or so in the first 2 games.
But he was useless.
So I thought
he was useless to us. Didn't do anything for us. It's not making us better.
But
like, at least Borgelin, we think, can play 90.
Borgelin could hopefully play 90 for sure. And he's going to give us the Euro step celebration when he finally scores. Yes. Confirmed. All right.
I don't want to risk. I don't want to risk Campana. Like we need to bring him back, even if we get him back in the 8th or 10th game. Bring him in gently, because the last thing you want is really us to be making the comparison to Robbie Robinson. It sucks for Robbie, but last thing I want to do is make that comparison.
Well, and I think with the way that you set it up, Mike, I think that it would actually play beneficial because we'll still have Taylor on the bench, and when Taylor comes off the bench, he's sort of a plug in the game that sort of gives everybody a big boost of energy as well. So. I'm not really
another guy. I'm not really. It doesn't seem like he's not playing the same game everyone else is. He's trying to make stuff happen. The rest of the team's kind of going.
Yeah, that's another player. That's exactly on point.
If Campana comes back, but he doesn't start, is there a chance that we don't start with the 2-striker set, and when he comes in, we switch to 2 strikers, or do you think that he gets subbed in for Martinez?
I think what we've been doing consistently. We haven't looked like a real 2-striker set. Like Coco's a really small striker, right? Like he's tiny.
Yeah.
I always struggle to think of him as a striker.
So Stefanelli, yeah.
I think again, I'm gonna attack Neville here. Neville needs to start with a 2-striker set, and I don't think we've started one the first 5 games. Maybe I'm wrong, but like a true Coco and Martinez to me are not a 2-striker set. And when you're starting that as a 2-striker set, you're really starting like a striker and a CF. Like it's not a real combination attack. I want to see the high-low. Give us the Kampapi or the Borgelon, then put Martinez in. You know, everyone's been saying the same thing. We're still trying to play Campana ball where you put it over top and let him run it down. That's not Martinez's game. So I don't think we'll see it because I don't think Neville will do it. And I remember last year a lot of times we were saying the same thing. Neville won't do it. Neville won't do it. And he finally did it, and we won. So maybe he comes home and he turns us around a little bit. But I don't expect to see it. Like I think I have very low hopes for Dallas.
All right, Mike. Well, with that said, I think it's about time for your prediction. So what are you thinking as far as home game, 4-game losing streak? Maybe we get Campana back. Hopefully we get Campana back. Well, what are we thinking for this Saturday coming up?
So let's take into account we're playing on Saturday of Easter Sunday, right? Like, so the crowd is not going to be a loud crowd. We got Dallas 2-2-2 coming in. They do not have a real resounding win, though. You almost give them the fact that they only lost 2-1 to LAFC as almost a win. But I don't think they're very great. I think they have revenge on their mind. I happened to be at the Dallas game last year where we pulled off the tie at the last second. I'm sure that one is they've been playing that in the locker room that we kind of screwed them on that game. I think a 2-1 loss, likely a 3-1 loss possible. I don't see us salvaging a point. I think if we get the play sheet an hour before a game and Neville has made legit tactical changes, I will eat my hat, and I think we have a shot. But if we show up with the same thing we showed up the last 2 or 3 games, I just don't see a possibility of us winning this game. Call me Negative Nancy. I'm going to drink a lot. Hey, Greenlock Gang, we're going to have a great party ahead of time. It's going to be an awesome pre-tailgate. The tailgate is the game. We're going to have an amazing time. Siege, BHU, and GLG all together. Throwing out a little on that, but I think that's
I was about to tell you to kind of just we're coming to the end here. I wanted you to go ahead and tell everybody about the Greenlock Gang because we're about to sign off. Kind of tell them what it is, where you guys are, and where they can find you on Twitter and all the social media.
Greenlock Gangs, we start out literally as a bunch of people in the green lot tailgating together. We've always been in the same spot. So if you're walking towards the training facility, you got that big Blue Cross Blue Shield sign. We park right next to it. This year, we've actually joining us is the Siege is parking with us and Black Parents United. We do a joint tailgate between all 3 groups, 50, 60 people every game. We do have some bathroom access this year, so it's real nice. It's a great tailgate. Everyone is welcome. We love having people there. We are at Greenlock Gang on Twitter and Instagram. Greenlockgang.com is our website. We love just come join us, come have a drink with us, come chat. We'll chat about everything from footy to I'm sure people are watching the NCAA game. I'm sure that'll be coming up. We try to get some TVs if there's any other games on. Kind of screw MLS and Apple because now we don't even get 3:00 games anymore, which is horrible. But yes, we'd love to have you out there. And yeah, it's a big party. We all have a great time. And frankly, if this keeps up and the losing streak continues, people are just going to go to the parking lot and we'll maybe go into the stands at the 45th minute because we're not going to stop partying to just watch the loss. But yeah, all Inter Miami all the time.
That's awesome. Hopefully we can stop by next Saturday. Chris, anything else for the people?
There you go, Mike. So there's the steak and toast. We're just going to get right to it. I'm not even warming it up. I'm not putting on any lube. What are we doing here with the steak and the toast?
All right, first off, steak. There's only one way to kick steak. It's number 1. Anything more is a crime to the meat. I like my steak rare. Toast, 3. 4's pushing it. I'll go to 3 for most of the time, 4 for a BLT because a BLT just need a little bit more crisp on a BLT. And don't show me the coffee because I don't drink coffee.
Yeah, forget about the coffee.
We don't ask the coffee.
We literally cut the coffee part because who cares? I don't know if anybody saw
steak
it
is
on
meant
my Twitter.
to be rare. Why do you cook something if you don't want to taste? Like the whole point is to taste the meat.
Not because you don't want the blood.
The hell of it. Blood makes it
You know,
better.
with the live animal.
What are you talking about,
That's what-
blood? Isn't that how COVID started? Like, come on, man.
That was a bat, not a stick. Like that was.
I know.
wings,
Got
didn't go
you. I got
move.
you.
That was a bat, Danny.
No,
Get
but
your
I would
animals
not
right.
eat just I wouldn't get like a bloody steak. Like,
I've eaten that.
I'm a
no,
three
I've
guy.
eaten that
I'm a
steak.
three guy.
That steak is good. Nah, three
Nah,
is a
chill.
little crazy.
All that blood all
No.
over the place. Kind of, it's too much.
I have definitely been that guy at the restaurant. You bring 3 to my table, 3's going back to the kitchen, and I'm getting another one that's a 1.
Yeah, you know what's happening with the 3? The 3's going back to the kitchen, and then they're just gonna give it to Danny because he got the 1.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the 3. All right. Well,
Well, let me
thank
tell
you, everybody.
I'll- I know that I've spoken to Danny about
Cali
heading out
doesn't
to the
go
green
to-
lot. And so for sure, I think that Danny and we're gonna make it out to the green lot at some point. Love to get a beer with you guys. I know that I'm looking forward to it. And you guys are super fun online, and I can't wait till the next game for sure.
But you can't wait for the next game because we're
It's
gonna
a
win, or
blast.
because
Well, because first I enjoy the pregame stuff, and more if we're gonna be going to the green lot, right? But next game, I'm not really looking forward too much to the game. I'm looking more forward to the pregame with the green lot gang.
So throw
yeah.
out one more thing here for the green lot. So this year, because we've had the big crowds, when the players walk from the training center to the field, about an hour and a half before game time, we're giving them a great crowd. We're giving them a great welcome. It's really cool because you really see the faces. The first time we did it, we had a big crowd. It was like Pizarro and some of the other guys were walking out. We're like, holy shit, there's a crowd here actually cheering us on. So that's been really
nice.
cool. I mean, as fans, we're really trying to make the players know that we got faith and believe in them. It'd be nice if they kind of return the favor, but we'll see what happens.
and let's enjoy that before Messi comes because that shit goes away once Messi gets here.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. and then something I think it's not as messy. I think MFP changes as well. We've definitely seen some of the plans for MFP. There's not a lot of tailgating space. So the good news is we have talked to the club. They are aware that tailgating is a part of it's already become a part of Inter Miami's culture. It's a part of South Florida sports culture. So hopefully with MFP we'll get something. I do think Messi would change things. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Or hey, maybe it won't happen. We'll go out and get a new CDM, and we'll just focus on the season and get some wins.
You heard that, Hendo? I know you're listening. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us on the chat, for joining us live. And if you're listening to this or watching this later on, thank you for listening all the way to the end. We appreciate you. Chris, anything else for the people before we head out?
Catch us on Wednesday.
That's right. Catch us on Wednesday. We're going to be previewing the Dallas game with somebody from, and this is the name of the podcast, the Big D Soccer After Dark. I checked
Is it
and
really
double checked.
After Dark?
It
That's
is.
creepy.
Yes. It's a soccer podcast. I listened because I was a little iffy about it. Definitely a soccer podcast. So we're gonna have them on Wednesday to preview the game. So catch us Wednesday at 9:00. And Mike, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to join us, and we look forward to running into you on Saturday.
Awesome, yeah, guys. There's a blast coming out here. Thanks for the invite, and looking forward to first drinks are on me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure going.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again, and we will catch you guys on Wednesday. Have a good one.